In software engineering, we are talking about agile development, chapter number 5. In agile development or agile software development, there are various models. All are basically dependent on change or came because change was not possible in the earlier or conventional type of SDLCs. So extreme programming is the most widely used approach under this agile software development. So XP is one type of agile software development. Kent Beck, he has written a lot about extreme programming and he presented it on seminal work also. There is a variant of XP called the industrial XP, IXP. And this is same as XP, but it is a refinement for large organization. The first process of XP, extreme programming, is planning. So XP is all about the agile software development, extreme programming. The first activity is planning activity, also called as planning game, and this is all about listening to the user. Before we go ahead, let me tell you, extreme programming uses object-oriented approach. At that time, object-oriented programming languages were very popular, and it was all about classes, objects. UML was becoming very popular. So we were talking about extreme programming, one type of agile development. This is the first step is planning activity, planning game is about listening. You are actually gathering the information from the user as a developer. Because user will tell you what output he wants, what are the major features and functionality he's wanting from you. So you have to listen to him. You have to talk to the user, the stakeholder, the people who have given you the software to make. So once you listen, you create stories, user stories. You can call it as user scenarios or user stories, or you can say use cases. So now here, it is all about what will be the output, feature, functionality. Every story, whatever you will make, will have certain output, will have certain features and functionality when the software will be built. So you are making user one, say user story 1, user story 2. One will have output, certain output, the other will have certain output. Now each story will be written by the customer and this will be placed on an index card. So this is a kind of index card, just an example that what the user want, what is the acceptance criteria. If he is asking for 5, you are giving 2, he is not accepting. That is the card is saying. Now once you have made this index card with the user story, the customer will assign a value. You will ask for a value. It will be a priority. Which one of this he wants first? So let us say user story 2 you have made and he has given priority 1 to the user story 2. Okay? Because he is saying no, user story 1 is not that let us prioritize the user story 2 first. So you will give a proper value of priority. And then say user story will take 5 weeks, user story 1 will take 2 weeks. So you will estimate the cost in terms of week. So when you see the user story is 5 weeks, so you'll go to the user and we'll ask him to divide or split this user story. For example, a user story you have made for add and factorial. This can be divided into one add and the other part as factorial, and they may take say 2.5 weeks, just for example I'm saying. So if it is more than 3 weeks, this user stories with a priority can be divided into such that it can be completed within 3 weeks. Please remember, new stories can be written at any time, even after the design. Means it is always welcome in this extreme programming, extreme process, because this is agile development process. Once you as a developer and the customer, they have decided, basically you have commitment, what will be included in the stories, delivery date and every other thing. So now XP team will decide which story they have to go forward, because user has given you a priority. Depending on the priority, you have decided the weeks, the time. Now the XP team will say or decide all story, they can do whatever they want. So all story they can implement within say few weeks, they can do it. All the stories at once in few weeks. They can also decide that the highest priority, highest value, this they can schedule first, that will be implemented first, and the later will come later. And they can also decide, the XP team, that the riskiest story, the functionality, the option which is containing a lot of risk, this will be done first. Okay, so after this, these three things will be there in the mind of the XP team, and they will decide with their all, you can say common sense, or the way they are seeing the project. After the first project or release is given to the user, that is delivered, the XP team will try to evaluate the project velocity. That is the first increment or the release. XP team is going to find out how fast we were. What is the project velocity in terms of time, in terms of the schedule. So this project velocity is actually the number of customer stories. As I said, there will be number of customer stories. These are all the requirements of the user. So this will be whatever they have implemented in the first release, they will compute a project velocity. Now, why they are calculating the project velocity? The first thing is they can estimate the later releases, how much time it will take. And one more thing, have they overcommitted? Because if they have low, say, slow project velocity or the higher project velocity, they can decide whether we have overcommitted or not. We should have not committed that much, like this. So they can change the dates accordingly. And as I said earlier, the stories or the requirement or the change can be added anytime, can be deleted anytime, can be split. This can all be done by the user at any time, and you need to welcome it. Coming to design, XP design is all about KIS principle. KIS is keep it simple. That is, why are we wasting time on design? Let's make a simple design. So they are talking about XP is all about a simple design, not a complex representation like the architectural model, component model like this. Because design is going to provide, design provides implementation guidance for a story. Because you are going to implement story on the basis of design. And very important thing here is the coding you are going to do, that has to correspond with the design. Design is not corresponding to coding, okay? Design will not follow coding. Coding will be actually complementing the design. So XP, only one kind of design is done here, that is CRC cards. CRC is class responsibility collaborator. This is all about the class you have decided. This class will have this function. This will be the objects being created. What are the variables we ought to have in the current software increment? How many classes will have? 2, 4, 5, 6 classes? How many? So this is the CRC card, and this CRC card is the only design. Please remember, there is no other design. Only CRC card are the design part of XP processes. So we don't make so much of design. That is why we are saying that design is kept as simple as possible. CRC. Now, if designing somewhere you find problem as a developer, what we will do, you'll create an operational prototype quickly. This is called a spike solution, because making a design, coding, and then finding the problem is not XP way. XP way is, if you find that design, we are not able to design, or there is a problem in design, maybe later, so we'll create an operational prototype just to check whether design is conforming to this operational prototype. This is called a spike solution. So these spikes will come as a prototype. XP in the design only, it is encouraging refactoring. Basically, refactoring is a construction technique. But in XP, we can use it as a design technique also. For example, you write certain code, okay? Because writing a code, you can just change the code, you can alter the code, not the actual feeling of the code, but inside. If someone has written 2 lines, one is required, why not to have 1 line only? This is all about cleaning up the code, simplifying the code, because more you write, more bugs will be there, or more you make the code clumsy, that will create certain problems later. So the idea is that the design can also occur after the design. This is very important. In design, the coding is always following the design. Here, the design can follow a coding in XP. So I'm just trying to show you these are 2 lines of conversion from the Fahrenheit to Celsius. The simple way is to make it as 1 line if it is possible. So this is the kind of refactoring example we can just know right now, so that this refactoring can be done in the design phase. Basically, refactoring, why we are doing, because designing can be done along with the construction or after the construction. The construction activity will provide the XP team the guidance how you can improve the design, because refactoring we are doing just to improve the code, and as I'm saying, code is corresponding to the design, and we are not saying that code will only come after design. The design can also come after coding. We can change the design. That is the change. Now coming to the coding. See, here actual code will be done. But what we have seen in the earlier SDLCs, right? User stories, in this case, user stories we are writing, then we may jump to coding. But in XP, coding is not done like that. Before we go to the coding, after the stories and this preliminary design are done, we actually develop or write unit testing, that how this code is going to pass the unit test. Before even writing the code, we will develop the unit test. Now the developer, when he is writing the code, he knows that I have to pass this test because it is already being written. So once the code is complete, it is again and again unit tested, and then the feedback will be very readily available to the to the developer. One more important thing of XP is pair programming. 2 people, one is driver, one is navigator. So, when 2 people are working, it makes the construction easier. So XP is recommending 2 people should work on a system, and then they can create a code, the story. So here, 2 things are going on. One person is coding. The other person is ensuring the quality assurance also. That is, he can review the code. Oh, this semicolon is wrong. You could have done this like this. So 2 minds are always better. 1 and 1 always is 11, not 2. So this is how 2 skillful people, if they are sitting together, the code will be in the same time, it will be created and quality assured. So in practice in XP, what happens when the 2 people are sitting, they may take different role, because they both have different skills. They are software developers, and for example, one may be doing coding, other may be ensuring that the coding standard is followed. For example, MISRA standard they have to follow. So the other person is ensuring that okay, and the other person may also think that okay, because unit test has already been written, we have to clear the unit test, so you must write like this. So as pair programmers, they complete their work because these are pair. There may be another pair, there is maybe another pair. So all they are creating the code in a good manner, they can be combined. So they are integrated. When this continuous integration is done, there will be some compatibility interfacing problem. They can be reduced. So it creates a kind of smoke testing environment, because smoke testing is all about, if you take a hardware and put the switch on, if there is smoke, you know that the hardware is a failure. The same thing happens here when you combine the code, that is integration. If there is some problem, you know that there is a problem. So you know there is a compatibility and interfacing issue. This can be solved. The problems, errors, bugs can be uncovered easily by this scenario. Then comes the testing of XP process. As I said, unit tests are already created. They can be automated. Now, because this is again and again done, and when some change is there in the code, there will be regression testing, and this is done on the daily basis also sometimes in this XP. So this provides XP team what is the progress, and they can create the warning flags quite early, because you are doing the unit test also, and you are regression testing also you are doing. See, it is always important to understand fixing small problems every few hours, every day takes less time than fixing huge problems just because before you are delivering the software. Okay, so big problem is not acceptable. Small problem you can fix. XP, there will be acceptance test from the users. For example, file transfer code you have written, and the user is saying, I want 10 Mbps speed, and you are providing him say 9 Mbps or 8 Mbps. It is not acceptable. So there will be some acceptance test by the customer who will only accept when you have completed the task. And this is the whole idea of XP process, that this functionality has to be given. Coming to the industrial XP. Industrial XP is all about XP in the industrial environment, big organization, large organization. So the precursor of knowing industrial XP is that you must know the XP. What is extreme programming under Agile software development? Okay. So everything is same as XP, the different phases we talked about. In industrial XP, there are slight changes. It was actually described by Joshua, and he described the industrial extreme programming, a type of agile software development. And one, he said, there are big companies, Adobe and Google's and etc. The big organization, how to implement this XP, what changes or what things we should know. So he said, Joshua, that XP is just an organic evolution of XP, right? It is along with XP, because XP is all about minimalistic, customer-centric, test-driven spirit. We already talked about XP. So this is also a kind of, a layering for industrial. IXP, because here we are including management more, and the customer and everyone has to be on board, and the technical practices has to be upgraded. So IXP is encompassing 6 new practices for big organization. So as I said, you need to know XP to understand this. This is everything is XP only with the industrial aspects here. The first thing is readiness assessment. That is the IXP team. As I said, everyone has to be on board. It can be stakeholder, developer, management, everyone has to be on board. And one more important thing is what skill they have, the skill levels we need for this project to complete. The project community, that we need right people. That is, everyone's skill will be different. And if the skill is not there, we have to train them. If a hardware person is there, he can design FPGA and etc. But if you say him to make a software, he won't be able to do it. Okay. So the right skill and training is important. Then comes the project chartering. Now let us talk about Google or say Adobe. Now if they have taken certain software, first they have to think whether this software what we are making or the application we are making, whether it is justifying our organization, the goals and objective, the mission and mode of our organization. This is project chartering, right? Coming to test-driven management. As I said, every point, every destination or milestone will be there, that we need to check whatever the software is coming to us, software increment, we have to check. And this is all about testing. We have talked about testing, and we'll be talking about testing in the later discussion. This is called as retrospective. So this is kind of a, say, technical review. The term here we are using in industrial XP is retrospective, when the software increment is delivered. And then the continuous learning. We have to make the team aware of the latest technologies. We have to guide them. We have to teach them to be at par with the present scenario. There are other agile processes model. We will talk about the Scrum, DSSD, agile modeling, AUP also, but in the next discussion. Till then, thank you so much. Take care of yourself.